The United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit just delivered a bombshell ruling against an organization engaging in race-based DEI practices. The question, inevitably, becomes, will this set precedent for other organizations, such as media companies, to course-correct and shy away from similar programs within their own institutions? Has the culture finally started to shift? And are the courts shifting with it? Let's talk about that on That Park Place Podcasts Online, or, as we like to call it, Day 3 PM.
This says, just in, and this is out of is that pronounced Hild? The DEI agenda suffers another blow. The 11th Circuit has upheld a district court determination that venture capital firm Fearless Fund was likely engaging in discriminatory behavior, violating the Civil Rights Act and attempting to award grants on the basis of race. Under the ruling, Fearless Fund must suspend the program pending the outcome of a lawsuit brought by the American Alliance of Equal Rights. Now, folks, we would have had our attorney on here, Ron Coleman, but darn it, he had to be on Timcast last night, slacking over there in West Virginia. Places to be. But this, of course, is the statement from the circuit judge. Go ahead.
When you sue somebody, it goes to a judge to decide whether it can even go any further, because maybe you don't have standing, you don't have the right to pursue the suit, maybe there isn't enough there. What happened in this is that the circuit judges decided there is a case here. It has a chance of being won. Therefore, sorry, we're not throwing it out. You're going to have to keep going with it. Just like what's happened with Gina, where Disney tried to get something thrown out saying, well, it's nothing. Pay no attention to that law behind the curtain. And the judge said, no, sorry, we're going to go through with this.
Exactly.
So that's what's going on.
Let me bring this to practicality so that people can understand where the connection is from this to entertainment. We're going to go to an article that I did back on May 2nd here on That Park Place. It says, exclusive, the Walt Disney Company's RISE program grants money to filmmakers based on religious beliefs. Now, folks, we went into great detail on this, a program that basically nobody had ever heard of. Nobody knew what was going on outside of a few inside the company. And this is a program that was dramatically and is still dramatically impacting.
Well, clearly not based on fashion, style, sense.
I am so sorry. He did it, not me. He did it, not me.
Oh, right. But maybe our wrenches can put the link to the article and even the video that we did about it in the chat for people to go look if they're so moved.
And that would be wonderful. It says here, this is one of the paragraphs, says, however, looking into these individuals, these are the ones who won the grants, also brings about the question of how Disney determined who was a Muslim and who wasn't. For example, one reference in the press release to a project by a Muslim grant recipient is clear that their project is similar to She-Ra and the Princess of Power, a cartoon with strong lesbian themes, and which did not seem to jive with certain portions of that faith community. Now, here's what we're getting at, folks. Disney and other entertainment companies who have been granting benefits, perhaps, allegedly, or shall we say accelerating the careers, perhaps, of those of particular viewpoints and backgrounds, that might have to come to a very quick stop if the DEI agenda suffers judicial blows such that it is exposed for what I think it clearly is, discrimination.
And that matters in a federal legal sense, I believe. I'm not a lawyer. If Ron was here, he'd tell me I was crazy, maybe. Because grants, as opposed to hiring somebody and paying them a salary, are to some degree tax-free and some degree written off by the company giving them as charitable deductions. So that whole issue comes into this. That's why there's a court case.
So panelists, any thoughts on whether or not DEI might be facing not just a public backlash, but a legal backlash, and Hollywood might have to curtail some of this stuff?
This is a no-brainer. Affirmative action was struck down. This is affirmative action. It's
right.
There's no argument here.
Well, and it also, it's not just that grant program for people of Islamic belief. It's that whole list of how to hire people and how not to hire people.
Yeah.
That's in the other case that's going on with the EEOC. Where they said you should stop thinking of hiring people you know can do the job and start thinking about hiring people that you have no idea whether they can do the job, but they're the right color or the right gender or the right whatever we like this week. And then they had the idiocy to actually put it on paper.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean,
It's codified with it being in their paperwork and the rules of how they're doing their hiring. But even if this is struck down and they can't do that anymore, they're still going to do it. They're just not going to codify it. Yeah. So if you go in with purple hair, you're more likely to get the job.
Chris, what's the perhaps decades long damage that's been done by hiring at such a high level people that are anti-meritocratic and they're sort of deconstructionists who don't appreciate the past, they don't appreciate legacies, they don't even appreciate the industry. They're kind of parasitic. What's the damage that Hollywood might have over the next 10, 15 years by integrating those kinds of people into their programs? And by the way, folks, I'm not saying that anyone of a non-majority status is as such. I'm saying that there is an ideological hiring frenzy that Hollywood engaged in that brought in people who don't like being successful. They're anti-success. What's the ramifications, Chris?
I think it's like a cancer that's metastasized. I don't even know, like I said earlier, I don't know how they come back from it, but it's not necessarily ideology driven. You're on point because it's meritless people who are being brought in and hired, and those people are being brought in and hired by the people who agree with those people's ideology, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't matter what your ideology is. You may be creative enough to make a great film or a cartoon or a comic book or a book, television show, you name it. Your ideology aside, you might just be a very creative, successful person with the right attributes, leadership, and so on to be able to do something that people love. But now those people are in the people that got hired by those people, your Steven Spielbergs and your George Lucases, they hired Kathleen Kennedy. Well, now Kathleen Kennedy, without having any merit truly in the creative field, is now at the top of the heap at Lucasfilm. And so she's hired people that reaffirm her own beliefs and philosophies, regardless of what their talent is. And where that's
putting aside the beliefs, there's a question of competence.
Yeah.
Especially because those hiring rules had to do a lot with things like assistant directors, production managers, people who actually make the train run on time and on budget. And if you bring people in because of any other factor than they can actually make that happen, you're asking to literally go woke and go broke.
Yep. And I'm okay with it. I mean, I think it's overdue, and there needs to be a reckoning. There needs to be some people waking up to these facts. They've got to be listening to what Pro and Nerdrotics and others are saying. I mean, I can't believe that they continue to dismiss us all as just toxic man babies or something. The proof is in the books, guys. The proof is at the box office. It's not working. What you're doing is not working, and that's not our fault. That's your fault.
Talking about disasters, Chris, you're exactly right. When you look at the actual numbers of attendance in movie theaters, so strip away the inflation-driven box office numbers and just go to tickets sold, butts in seats, what we've discovered is that there's a 60 to 61% drop in attendance since before the pandemic. So from 2019 until today, there is a 60 to 61% drop in attendance. Folks, if you told me in 2019 that video game sales were going to drop by 60%, okay, transactions, that there would be a 60% drop in transactions in video games, I would have said to you, okay, well, what's going to kill the video game industry? What is it? Is it virtual reality is going to take it away and we're not classifying it the same? So what else do you want me to say if the movie industry has decreased by 60 to 61%, other than what killed it? And I can tell you what killed it.
I can as well. I need to chime in on this because there used to be an acceptable level of I used to call it the take that is in every single film, like in Sonic 2. And I bring this up over and over again, that Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik makes some joke about how there were fine people on both sides of the conflict. It just needs to make sure that in this movie that, hey, all those guys in the Midwest who brought your kids to this, we just need to make sure that where you stand in our estimation, that we don't like you. If you've ever even thought about voting in a different way than we do, we don't like you, and we're going to embarrass you in front of your kids. Maybe it'll fly over your kids' head. Last night, I was playing a video game that features a superhero. I'm not even going to say the name of the game, but I was going around and I was fighting crime, and there was a crime that happened.
We know what it was, Jonas. Superman 64. You love the game. We get it.
Exactly. And that superhero goes and stops a break-in at a gun club. And now the superhero is going off on why there don't need to be gun clubs inside of city limits. So we're having a 2A lecture that has nothing to do with the stories. The guys are criminals. We're having a 2A lecture in the middle of a video game about a superhero, a popular superhero. So what purpose does that serve inside the game other than preaching to the audience about what the preferred political ideology should be? By the way, the superhero seems to be calling for registration and disarmament of everyone but himself.
So it's not Iron Man. Just kidding.
But see, here's the thing. I think you're being generous saying that the people who made that game are trying to convert the unconverted. I don't even think they care.
Oh,
I don't
no,
think
no.
they think they ever will.
No,
They're giving their like-minded buddies a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I told them, didn't I?
That was a highlight from the Pro Show, where the full recording can be found on the WW Pro YouTube channel, exclusive to members. So what do you think? Has the culture suddenly started to shift? What have you noticed in your experiences? And where do you think we'll ultimately end up as a society? Please let us know in the comments below. Like this video if you did like this video. Share us out, as it helps us out tremendously against the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for watching. T3PO. Please comment, like, and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.